Hi, my name is Opal Perry, and I will be doing a presentation on why ethics is important in mental health counseling. So, basically, first, let's start with what is ethics? Ethics is basically moral philosophy. It's understanding the difference between good as well as bad behavior. All right, so this it could essentially not be limited to like a person's beliefs or decision making or just pretty much every lessons they've learned in like daily life. Now, why would ethics be important in? Why does it matter? Why would it be important in mental health counseling? So there's several reasons that makes ethics important. So for one, ethics protects the client welfare. Okay. It also promotes professional competence. It maintains confidentiality. It prevents exploitation. And it also does one of the major things, which is build trust. Because as a mental health counselor, one thing you really want to have is trust between your clients. So when this is violated, it makes it difficult like to make decisions, as well as it makes your client more vulnerable, because at this point, once the ethics has been violated and if they should seek with someone else, it'll just make it harder for the next person to establish that trust as well as that connection. So making sure that you are staying ethically correct is important in the mental health field. All right, so to kind of go with an example of some conflicts of interest that can happen when it comes to mental health counseling, one thing we can see is what we would call dual relationships. So, what that means is when you, as a provider, provide services to, let's say, your family friend, a relative, anyone that you have a close personal connection with. So, that kind of creates that ethical conflict. Now, in the mental health and wellness practice, this can really make it a difficult position to put you in. So, if you service someone that you are connected to, this can cause you to kind of remain objective. You might show favoritism, and from client to provider, the client might not openly disclose a lot of information just because y'all have that different type of relationship, or vice versa. They might disclose a lot of things and then later feel like they can't see you because the things they are telling you they may never have wanted to share with you on that personal level. So it kind of can go both ways. But with that being said, one way to avoid that is, instead of taking on someone in your family or a close friend or a relative or anyone that you are personally connected to, instead of taking them on as a client, you can refer them to someone else and kind of separate yourself. That keeps your personal and your professional life separate. Another conflict of interest is like a financial conflict. So let's say that you are not necessarily affiliated with this center, but you have some type of connection to it. Like you don't work for it, but you may have a friend there, or you may come there, you come there from time to time, or we can even say that you used to work for it, but you still visit, right? So you refer people to them, and in turn, they give you some type of incentive. Okay, so with that, you could face problems like your decisions then of who you refer would only be referred by what you gain, so personal gain. Your clients lose trust in you because they feel like you're only referring them for what you can compensate with, and then ultimately it just violates ethical standards because again, you're, what's the term, double dipping. So you're getting paid to see these clients, and then you're also getting paid from this place because you're referring these clients. That's if you work there. So one way to kind of resolve this is to recommend services based solely on what your client needs, not what you feel you'll benefit from. So let's talk a little bit about personal values and ethical decision making. Okay, so one thing we can look at is personal religious beliefs that differ from a client's lifestyle. So if you are super, super religious and your client talks about how much they drink and they smoke and they fornicate and all of these things, you have got to separate your beliefs on how you should wait till marriage and how the body is a temple and you should not, pollute it with anything other than what is deemed righteous by the Lord. You have to be able to separate that and give them give them advice based on a professional standard more so than what your beliefs are. All right, and then the second one is personal opinions about parenting, substance use, or relationships. So kind of steer away from saying, well, if I was a parent, this is what I would do. If I were in your situation, this is what I do. And kind of guide more towards what do you think is best for you in this situation. And some resolutions that could also go with this, you could practice self-awareness, so kind of staying vigilant about what you are saying and doing. Seek supervision, so kind of having someone assess, you if you're feeling unsure. Make sure you're following the ethical codes, and most importantly, refer only when appropriate and without abandoning the client. So, some different types of ethical principles are beneficence, justice, fidelity, and those are just a few of them. There's actually several different types of ethical principles, and it's important to know and understand which one. So let's look at an ethical dilemma. So let's look at confidentiality versus duty to warn. So it's kind of self-explanatory. Confidentiality versus duty to warn. Keeping something secret as opposed to telling someone something to warn them of a potential outcome. So the example we're going to go with is a client expresses an immediate plan to harm another person. How would you respond? First thing you're going to do is assess the risk. Then you're going to follow whatever state you live in, you're going to follow that state law. After that, you're going to warn the appropriate parties if required, and then make sure you document it. And that is going to kind of keep you within the ethical code of conduct, and you won't overstep your boundaries or have any backlash from it after that. Okay, so then another ethical dilemma we could look at is you have a client with severe depression who refuses recommended treatment. So first thing you're going to do, you're just going to respect it. You are going to respect it because at the end of the day, it is their choice. You're going to continue to educate them and let them know, hey, this is why treatment is good for you. I understand you don't want it, but this is what the benefits could happen if you should ever decide. Keep them educated. You're also going to then assess their decision-making capacity. So making sure that they are lucid enough to make the decisions to not want treatment. And then you're going to develop a collaborative treatment plan. So something that is between the two that y'all feel will work best for the client. And then if safety becomes an issue, you're going to refer for an emergency evaluation at some type of treatment facility. And this kind of will gear you within the next steps to take. All right. So overall, I just want you to take away from this that your goal as a provider, you are to protect your clients. You are to also ethically protect your professional, and understanding that ethics decision making requires consultation and continued learning. But most importantly, professional codes will guide towards difficult situations. Thank you.